what's fascinating is it's about morals. It's about all the stuff that we learned in the 60s when there was 35 Westerns on primetime TV and all the morals that were exposed to us. Now the kids just see DC comic books and, Marvel. But the values of John Wayne and the values of all that period of time with Gary Cooper and all those films, they need to be rejuvenated.
These robberies are becoming commonplace. We all got to stick together. Well, sticking together is one thing, but asking me to pay for protection, that's another.
Hi, I'm Rob Word. Welcome to A Word on Westerns. I love Westerns. I've got a lot of friends, and this guy I'm going to bring in, he's not in a wheelchair. I've known him 40 years. And Dick Rosenblum, when we were doing Cagney and Lacey, I was head of marketing, and he was one of the stars in Cagney and Lacey. They never let him draw his gun. He does now. He's making Westerns. Martin Kove, come on in, pal. Hey, pal.
How you doing?
I'm good.
So at least we get to do this now before I, go on, pass on.
Oh, he's busy. This man is all the way in from Nashville to be here today. Have a seat, please.
Thank you.
Nobody applauded for Nashville, I guess. There it is.
No, it's a good place, Nashville.
What I want to talk about, Marty, is I know your love of Westerns. I love them too, and that's how we connected 40 years ago. Can you believe that?
40 years.
You were wild back then. Do you remember any of that at all?
No, I don't remember anything.
Let's talk about Farhaven, because it's just terrific, and it seems to me that film has brought back a traditional Western with an all-star cast. How did you get in that?
I don't know. I had to pay someone to get it. No, but my son is just, so into it. He's been doing more Westerns, Jesse, than anything else. And he was on Cobra Kai for a while, and in a very important episode. But, it just you just kind of smell them. Wherever they are, you just try to...
It's that horse.
Yeah, it's the horse. But this, this was wonderful, and it was down. We shot in Mescal, which had such a wonderful history of, Tombstone being there, and I just loved it. The character was fun. It wasn't as good as the real gunfighters. I was the sort of the man who owns the land, who's trying to get the property away from the farmers, so that ultimately the railroad, when it comes through, will spend all the money and he'll make the money. Typical land baron.
It's the Victor Jory role.
Yeah, Victor Jory role. Perfect.
All got to stick together. Well, sticking together is one thing, but asking me to pay for protection, that's another.
And I really wanted to do what my son was doing. And even Bruce had some good gunfighting.
Even Bruce?
Even Bruce. Yeah. Well, Bruce Boxleitner, A. Martinez, Jesse Kove, Bailey Chase, and then the director was a fellow for INSP who directs a lot and produces a lot for that Cowboy Network. Gary Wheeler and Doug Butts was the producer. So they're all Western lovers, and they call me every other day, and we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We talk about Gunfight OK Corral. We talk about 3 movies per decade.
Well, they do love Westerns, and Westerns, I know Doug fought hard to start airing them 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and the sales guy said, well, nobody really watches them. It's an older demographic, but he fought for it. And now Doug told me that they're the 6th highest rated cable channel now, INSP.
They deserve it. Yeah. I mean, Taylor Sheridan is just, given a boost, through the Paramount Plus networks in 1883 and all that. And there's a lot of people making Westerns now, which I don't want it, I don't want the press to all of a sudden, start writing about it and start deciding that it's peaking and, and that, well, we've seen enough of this and enough of that kind of Western. I don't want that to happen, because I just want it to build. And I have no control over that, except if we make good product, then it will keep building, whether
Farhaven does that, I think, because it's a traditional Western. It's easy to see who the good guys and the bad guys are, but the characters are shaded, and you're pretty much the baddest guy in the film, hiring these other people to run Boxleitner and his family off the property.
Yeah, Bruce, he gets a chance. He and my son were ambushed by my my gang, and I told my son, fan, and to fan in the scene as he's running to his horse, just to do it because it's cool. Because I couldn't do anything. I didn't have any guns. I had to think. I think I had a Derringer, and then there's a part 2 where I'll do more action. But I was longing to do, some of this riding and shooting and sit there with a Henry, But, it wasn't in the role.
The next time Mr. Massey offers protection, they might want to take him up on it. They got protection now, Sheriff. From who you're looking at it.
I'll do pretty much any kind of role that's got substance if it's in that genre. Because to me, the genre is, what I think what kids are missing today, and I'm doing a comic book, a 4-issue comic book of the West, and I'm an old gunfighter, and I team up with a 12-year-old kid, and we search for my son's gang, and it's really interesting. It's called The Prodigal Son, and what's fascinating is it's about morals. It's about all the stuff that we learned in the 60s when there was 35 Westerns on primetime TV, and all the morals that were exposed to us. Now the kids just see DC comic books and, Marvel, but the values of John Wayne and the values of all that period of time with Gary Cooper and all those films, they need to be rejuvenated.
Well, all these films are so dark today. Even all the movies that were up for Academy Awards and stuff are just dark and depressing. And Westerns can bring that up, can make people feel good because the bad guys get punished usually.
Yeah.
Except on Yellowstone, he murders people, he buries them in the backyard, and then becomes governor.
Yeah,
right. I guess it's a reality show.
I had a lovely conversation with Michael Martin Murphy, and he was offered a couple of parts by Taylor Sheridan. And he says, I don't want to, I don't really want to act in those projects. I said, well, why? Taylor Sheridan's the hottest cat in Hollywood. And he says, because all his characters are so dark. It's as if he represents the West with everybody who's unhappy. Everybody's unhappy in the West. There isn't any, singing. There's no dancing, square dancing, playing guitars. It's always dark in all his shows. And he's right.
Well, it's not just his shows, but it seems like the whole landscape of television and all these limited series, they're all dark. Who do you root for?
It's hard. Last night I watched on, I think it was the prequel to the, to a medieval show. And I was hoping it would be more adventurous in an area where they're explaining things of why people do certain things. I think it was the Witcher. And it was a prequel to The Witcher, which is a very interesting show. And instead, it was all blood and all violence. And, I think we're all capable of doing that as actors because it's a way to express ourselves. But the bottom line is, couple it with some moral value. Couple it with, how kids could grow and feel better about themselves.
Well, your character, Kreese, though, on Cobra Kai, you're troubled, you're dark. What are the redeeming characters in that? In fact, we were talking about it the other day, how you want to bring the racism and the intensity of Ethan Edwards into your part. And you're going to work with the writers to do that. How did that come to you?
I was given a book, Western Posters from 1911 to the present, and it had a breakdown of each poster, a little bit of literature. And it was just last week, and I read it, and the critique of Ethan Edwards by this writer was brilliant because it talked about his prejudice. It talked about how he was so enraged coming back from the Civil War that it was good to be with family, but he still had his guts eating at him because obviously the South lost. And he was in the Confederacy.
From the thrilling pages of life rides a man you must fear and respect. A man whose unconquerable will and boundless determination carved a lusty, rough, and boisterous slice of history called The Searchers.
All of that seemed to work. I was trying to find, what do I do after 5 seasons to make John Kreese in this TV show, Cobra Kai? What do I do to make him more interesting for me? Not the tough guy and, mercy is for the weak and, no mercy, sweep the leg. Not that. What
Don't
do I
lose
do?
that, though.
I won't lose that. But what do I do? And then this critique of Ethan Edwards popped up, and I read it. And it was so brilliant. It was so good because we don't know if he's going to kill Natalie Wood at the end, really. Basically, if she spent too much time with the Comanches, because that's what the reviewer said there, that he was just prepared to kill her if she spent too much time there. And that would be a solace for him, It's interesting. And I would use Vietnam War instead of the Civil War and substitute all these values.
It's John Wayne as Ethan Edwards, who had a rare kind of courage. The courage that simply keeps on and on, far beyond all reasonable endurance, never thinking of himself as martyred, never thinking of himself as brave.
So we'll find him in the end, I promise you. We'll find him.
It was just a great review, and I must show it to you because I'd never seen it before. And it was so articulate. I gave it to you. I think you have it.
Well, I have it right here, Marty.
Right, but I'm not going to read it. But
Please don't.
But it was.
He read it to me last night. Okay. I knew it all anyway, but
I know you knew it all.
It was nice.
I was reinforcing my character.
Yeah. No, but I like how you're going to bring that element into it, and of course, in The Searchers, they could deal with racism with Native Americans and Indians and the Comanches, but they couldn't really bring it against black people at that time. And so they had a lot of these films about interracial marriages and stuff, but it was Jimmy Stewart with Deborah Pageant in Broken Arrow and Duke chasing down Natalie Wood because she slept with Chief Scar Henry Brandon. I mean, it's different. And people accepted that in movies and theatrical films, but they wouldn't accept it like they do today. Now it's all blended. We have blended families and everything.
Right.
Now, let me shift gears a little bit and ask you about the Oscars. I know you've been before, and the Memorial Award, it seems like they've forgotten the people that we grew up watching in movies, and they didn't honor them in the memoriam. What is that all about? You're in the Academy.
I know. I have to admit, I haven't voted in the last few years because I've been disappointed in the activity and the way things are going. A little more, too political and less art. And that's what's always been a problem for me, I mean, there was a time, it's really interesting that Top Gun was up there because Top Gun is a lot of action. And you wonder why movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark weren't in there years ago. But because action pictures weren't pretty much accepted as nominated, let alone,
The popcorn movies, they weren't serious enough.
Yeah, they weren't serious enough.
But what are the serious movies now? It's not any of the Marvel films. The serious movies, like we said, they're all depressing. The Whale. I can't get through that.
Well, I think it's interesting that my son and I talked about this morning. He said, Daddy, what would you do if that script was offered to you? And as something to act, I would say, I would probably take it, But when you read through it and all the problems that he's had in his career, and yet, I've met him, he's a lovely man. But taking that was something that made him feel good, I'm sure, to act that role. Did he have any aspersions that was ever going to go this far? No. I mean, he never could have thought it. The agent would have said, "This is the role. You'll get some attention." But would he win Best Actor? I don't think Brendan ever thought about that. Brendan, it was just something to do and feel good about because it really is a good role. The movie is depressing. The movie is dark.
Well, how do you pick parts, Marty?
I try to do, I like vulnerability. I actually cry at supermarket openings, I really like vulnerability. And when I took Cobra Kai, I said to them, I didn't want to play this character like Karate Kid 1. I wanted to play with more vulnerability and texture. And they said, we'll do that. And they put in different flashbacks. And it was redeeming. And now, in season 5, you're in jail and you're framed and you break out. Anything is possible, for season 6. But it's the softer stuff I like to do. I don't like to do the tough guy. And I've done it.
Well, you and Bo were so funny in Wyatt Earp Return to Tombstone. It's like a comedy team, and comedy, you're gifted at that.
Unfortunately, most, as we all know, you get pigeonholed in this town, and they think you can only do, well, Karate Kid was a commercial success. That's about all Marty Kove can do.
There's a lot
and
of
I went
laughs
through
in
that for
Cobra
ages.
Kai, though. A lot of laughs in
Oh,
Cobra
now,
Kai.
yeah, Cobra Kai. In the Emmys, we get nominated every year, and we're in the category of comedy, which is totally bizarre, totally bizarre. But because we do have comedy, and we're a dramedy, and it's written so well, then they don't know where else to put you. But there is comedy.
I noticed Will Smith's name is in the credits on that, and he doesn't have anything to do with the show, does he? It's those three guys who
Right.
put it together. Who are they? What are their names again?
There's John Hurwitz, Josh Heald, and Brandon. Brandon is actually, Hayden. Hayden
3 years he's been on this show, and he can't think of it.
No, but I'm trying to remember all the other names. Hayden Schlossberg. But Will it was he and his son really that really wanted to do the Karate Kid again. And they had the rights to that movie, the fourth Karate Kid, the one with his son. And ultimately that came out, and I went to that premiere, and he had the rights to do a series. So the writers came at the series from the point of view of Johnny Lawrence, my student, rather than creating a new Karate Kid kind of story, which has been pitched to Ralph Macchio many times and has never been really good. So this was a different angle, looking at life through the eyes of the kid, Johnny Lawrence, who almost won through my guidance and got robbed of being the Karate Kid because of an illegal kick called the crane kick.
It's a wonderful concept.
It's, the
show works.
Yeah, show works, and with the second biggest show in the world. And
how does that feel after you saying yes to all these movies that nobody could watch? To be in a monster hit
my
like
friend,
this.
right?
We're so close. We're like this. Okay?
Yeah, it was good. It's nice. It's good. How much time do I have up here?
I think your time is up. Either your time is up or mine is up.
All
I don't
right. No, you do. There was a movie, I think my son told me to do that I didn't want to do. The cast was terrific. It was Stephen Lang. It was William Sadler. It was Fred Williamson. And
this is the
amazing.
VFW?
Yeah, VFW.
That's
the
a terrific
VFW
film.
is a violent movie about crazies that want to break into the bar, and we're all Vietnam vets. So I took it. And he said, Daddy, you have to take it because the camaraderie of how it's written, and with that cast, you'll have a ball.
And you'd never heard of the director, writer before?
Collectively, the cast had done 500 movies. This was the director's third film.
It's really
And he was
good.
smart
This
enough just to let us go and improvise and just roll the camera, and all of us, we knew what we were doing. And it turned out to be a terrific little movie.
It's a fun film. Yeah.
Fun film,
And you're a fun guy.
Thank
and I
you.
love you, Marty.
I love you.
Even
though my movies are no good.
Well, we won't vote on that.
All
okay?
right.
But we would vote on having Marty here as a guest again. Thank you, Marty.
Oh, my
I love
pleasure.
you, pal.
I love you.
Yeah, I love
Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right there.